Good evening, everyone, or almost good evening. Thank you for being here. I will give 1 minute more just to get everyone. Maybe someone else is coming, so they don't. We can give them all 1 minute to start it. Just before I start the whole presentation tonight, you probably can see him already. I have a very nice colleague. Very dear colleague, Ewald is here. He's a mortgage advisor. So keep all your questions regarding your financial. For Ewald, he will answer all of them at the end. I will do the same. I will answer all your questions during the presentation. I also have here my colleague Rick. He's also going to help me with all the questions. He's also going to answer your questions. You can pop all your questions in the chat if you like, or in the Q&A, and then Rick will answer them. And if at the end we have more, we're also going to answer them all. So just for you to know. And one more information, you also going to receive an email within a day or two with this presentation, and also the presentation is being recorded with the PDF file as well. So then you can, if you forgot anything, then you can take a look back. Yeah, shall we start it then? Wait a second, there we go. As I said, today's section will be recorded and shared with you within a few days. So you can go back and see if you missed something. My name is Diovana. I'm here in Eindhoven. I live in the city center. I'm an expat buying manager. I'm from Brazil. I've been here for 13 years. I have 2 children, a daughter and a son. I moved here in 2009. I went first all the way to the north of the Netherlands, Assen, and then Groningen, and then ended up in Eindhoven. So if you haven't visited the north, go for it. It's a pretty country. It's a very nice place to visit. I have rented many places before I bought my first house. I bought it quite a long time ago. It was the end of the crisis. And then I renovated the whole house, and then I sold the house, and then I bought a new one. I renovated all over again, and might sell my new house again. So let's see how the market goes, and if we can, if I can do that again. And I will let Ewald introduce himself to you. Hi, Ewald. It's nice to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Let me also check my video and out if I'm doing it correct with the system. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hi there. I'm a mortgage advisor since 2006 in the Netherlands, actually already. I've been living as an expat abroad as well in Portugal. I liked it very much. I really enjoyed the international diversity also within the Netherlands. Within Portugal, I really ran into a few issues that they thought were obvious, and for me, they were not that obvious. So what I really intend to do when I'm here as a mortgage advisor is to help you not to run into the things that we believe is obvious, but maybe might be new for you. So we're working for an independent company. In here, there are about 6 advisors that can help you, and I'm normally the one that helps you with the expats part, and I speak a few languages, so try me out.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So we had a little poll to get to know you a little bit, a few questions. Let's see if it works, and we get to know how you found us. So I guess you can fill it up a few questions if you give us the pleasure. If you give us your answers, it will be great. And then we can get to know you just a little bit. I give you a few seconds, and then we're going to move forward. I see Facebook, a friend or a colleague, Instagram. Oh, that's nice. So I give you more 15 seconds, and then we can go further. There you go. Thank you so much for filling this up, though. It's nice to know where you heard from us. Yeah. Guess I will move forward. Let's see. Let's go. Let's see. Oops, I have always to click it again. So a brief introduction about our company, Expat Housing Network. We are not traditional real estate agents, and I will explain to you a little bit further why is that. We help with buying and renting, also here in Eindhoven. We do both service. We charge a fixed fee. There is no commission, so you can buy a house of 150 okay, if you find one, or 5 million, the price is the same for everyone. So it's not, we don't charge a percentage, so from where you buy it, so you have the freedom to go for the budget you'd like without paying that much. We know what it looks like to settle in a new country. Of course, most of us are expats, or at least are the Dutch people that we have lived abroad before, which is quite nice. So they know the whole experience of being to a new country and do everything to get your life together all over again. What is our added value when you work with us? Selling agents do take offers more serious from buying agents. That's very true. It's very much something that the selling agents looking forward, actually. They feel more comfortable talking to a buying agent, talking to us, because we know our clients, we have checked it all the financial background, we know what they are able to pay, and all about the savings, and also about the market. So we won't make crazy offers or anything like that, unless if you want us to, of course we'll do, but with the right conditions and everything on place for you to get your house. So it's easy for a selling agent when they have someone they can trust. We can sometimes book viewings when it's no longer possible. I imagine every one of you already been to Funda. If it's not, we'll go to Funda and try to book an appointment, and most of the time they are completely fully booked. And they do sometimes give us spots to go to the viewing, of course, because it's easy for them when they have someone that they can help people to buy a house. We support by review all the Dutch legal and property documents. It is indeed true, most of the documents are in Dutch that we will receive it, I would say 99% of them. Also the contracts and everything. And we also speak Dutch. I do speak Dutch. So if you are doing your course and think it's too difficult, don't give up, you will get there. It's just taking 2 years, but I'm there. I always can get better though. So we can review all the documents with you and let you know all the risks and everything, so you can sign and know where you can sign and understand everything. That's very important. We help to find the market value through market data. That's something I will talk a little bit further, but that's very true. Most likely the price you see on Funda, it's not the price, it's not the market value. That's the price, depends on the area, is the price that the selling agents do put in the house to get more people to visit. Some of them put a price that's quite low. So we're going to talk about this a little bit further, so you can understand what the market value is. And that's very important when you buy your house. That will make a huge difference in your offer. And that might be what is going to make your offer be accepted. We will inform you about all the rules and regulations. There are different rules for different properties, apartments, houses, or ground lease, or even a house that is already been rented by someone and you want to buy it. There's different kind of regulations, very specific ones, and that's very important for you to know when you buy a house, and not only have the surprise when you go to the notary. Let's continue. Oh, wait a second. I had another poll for you. We'd like to know, where are you in the process? Could you please let us know? So then let us know. So then we have an idea if you have been to a visit, to a viewing, if you have sent an offer already, if you have maybe talked to another agent or anything, just for us to know more or less where are you, if you have been to another website maybe, or maybe you got an offer accepted and then give up on the deal. That also happens. So let us know, please. That would be great to know what kind of crew we have tonight. That's it, I guess. Oh, no, sorry. I have a few more people filling up, so I'll wait for a few more seconds. Let's see. Okay, researching. Yes. Oh, viewing properties. Not that much. Okay, that's interesting. Research, I understand that, especially now. Yeah. So we're going to go further. Let's see. Oh, wait a second, I have to close this one. Market info. So here we put together some of information on the market and how it goes, some numbers. This is for you to see the average of price that the houses were sold in the region, and that was around 438, which is quite a high price for our region. So then you can see the difference as well between the other years. It's a very big difference. So so you see how high the offers are going, and also how much the market is growing. So we're going to talk about the growing a little bit further, but just for you to have an idea. And also for the new builds, they're also the new apartments, the new houses that are building, they're also quite high. And here we have specifics. So the amount of houses sold last year, they were quite low compared to the years before. So you can see also 40% less houses in the market last year, that makes a huge difference also when you send an offer, because the competition is much higher, because less houses. We all know there is not enough houses in the Netherlands for everyone that needs to buy or even rent. I dare to say that the rental market is even worse. So those are some figures that you can actually see why the market is the way it is, and why it's so expensive, and why it's so hard. Average price, it is quite high, 19.5% higher than last year, which is just, I can only use the word ridiculous. So, but it is the market. There's nothing we can do about it, but it's nice for you to understand. And when people come with say to you that it is quite expensive, because it is, going up and up and up. We see a little bit of, I wouldn't say a break, just it's not going up so high this year, but of course there is the war and everything, but it still is growing and growing. And it might not be so high like last year, but it still is going to grow. It's going to grow quite a lot. We have some market drivers, and it's nice for you to know what caused the price to increase. Of course, there are fiscal benefits. You all know about it, probably know about the 2%. If you're buying your first house in the Netherlands, if you are younger than 35 years old, if the house costs maximum of 400,000 euros, you don't pay the 2% transfer taxes that are mandatory. So that also makes a difference. That means that normally we tell our clients that they need to have around 4 to 5% in cash to be able to buy a house in the Netherlands, because you can only finance the property, not the costs of the process. So that's why we see 4 to 5%. And if you buy a house if it's your first home, if it's up to 400, if you're up to 35 years old, you don't have to pay transfer taxes, the 2% transfer taxes, which means that you are you need to have around 3% in cash to be able to pay the mortgage, the buying process. Tax exemption, that's what I just said. Interest rates rebate, you can always have that when you do your mortgage. Of course, please talk to your mortgage advisor. And today you have the possibility of ask your questions about that to our to Ewald. He will be here answer you about that if you need. And of course, after the presentation, you can always contact him as well if you have more questions regarding your financial power. Also, no capital gains, of course. Tax-free parent donations, it will end this year. So if any of you are getting some money from your parents to buy a house, and it is tax deducted, it is tax-free for now, but it will end. I believe it's next month, maybe, but Ewald can confirm that. So be aware of that. Lower interest rates, although the interest rates it went up quite a bit, it's still are lower than a few years ago. So we also see that difference in the market, of course. And the rent in this country, it is very expensive. I'm sure all of you are paying a lot to live where you are. So that makes the market goes very crazy. And the lack of supply. I used to say the Netherlands have around 300,000 needed to 300,000 properties to be able to the market go better, that everybody has a possibility to buy or to rent something easily. But I read a few months ago that is actually around 500,000. So which quite a big number, and the government is supposed to build around 100,000 properties per year, but it's not even close. I think last year they were able to build around 60,000. So we don't see it getting better anytime soon regarding the supply. So, but that's what caused the price to go so high. There's so many people to buy one property or to rent one property that all happens, of course. Also, a few things that it'd be nice for you to know. Since April, you have, when you buy a house, that the WOZ of the house, the WOZ, just to explain to you, is the value that the government gives to the house to be able to charge you the taxes. It's not the market value. It's a value that they base on the whole neighborhood. It's not your the market value. It's not rely with what you're going to get as a mortgage or anything. It's literally the purpose is for taxes. That's it, nothing else. But from April, when you buy a house and the WOZ value, it's up to 350, you have to live in the house for at least 4 years. So you can no longer just, rent it or something like that. So it is, if you want to rent, you need to have a specific mortgage for that. So be aware of that. There is an article about that. You can click that afterwards and read everything about it. But it is more specific now. They're trying to make those rules so a lot of investors don't come and buy the houses and pay a bunch of money, and then I call us like morals that don't have like 500K in cash are able just to pay it once, and then they can just rent the house or divide the property in a few apartments or so. So that's what the government's trying to do. So I believe it will help the market quite a lot. So let's hope for that. Another thing that happened this year was the National Mortgage Guarantee. Is a special mortgage with lower interest rates and a few benefits, of course, but you do buy a house up to 355K. Be aware of that. That has to be the purchase price of the house, and that it was 325 last year, and now it's 355. So that changed it as well. There's also a website of that mortgage. They call in Dutch is NEHG, so you can read a little bit more about it. Talk to your financial advisor as well, and of course the interest rates. The interest rates are projected to rise slightly in 2022, but we see that it's going higher. High, and I believe Eva will talk a little bit about that, so then we can have a little bit more information on the interest rates and as well. What would you need in savings before you start? So as I told you before, around 5% of the purchase price, but here you can see everything you actually have to pay for the process. Remember about the transfer taxes that I told you, the 2%? Again, not for a new build. If you buy a new property that somebody never ever register, you don't have to pay. Of course, you don't have to pay the transfer taxes. I can give an example about this. I bought my first house, I think it was 2014, 2015, and the house was actually built in 2009, but they didn't sell the house because it was the beginning of the crisis. Nobody bought the house. And then when we bought it in 2015, it was still empty. So I didn't have to pay. It was considered still a new build because nobody had registered in the house. So I didn't have to pay the 2% transfer taxes. So that's an example for the new builds. And for the builds that are already there, it means it's what I said. If you are younger than 35, if you never bought a house in the Netherlands and the value is up to 400, you don't have to pay those 2% transfer taxes. Otherwise, you do have to pay for it from the purchase price. The notary, it's mandatory. They have to make a mortgage deed and a transfer deed. We put a different price because it depends on the notary you will choose. It's up to you, and you have to pay the mortgage, the bank or the mortgage broker, the mortgage advisor. That's also up to you. But of course, they all charge, including the bank. So it's not just because you have a bank account at ING or ABN that they're not going to charge it. They charge as a mortgage advisor. The difference is that the mortgage advisor will give you a whole view of your mortgage in different kind of institutions, banks, insurance companies, and all of them. You can see it. And the bank, of course, we only show you their own interest rates and their own benefits and everything. But if all the we'll talk a little bit more about that. I don't know, a typical real estate agents charge us 1 to 2%. I would even rise to 2.5 now, because I have heard it a few days ago about that, of the purchase price, and we charge a fixed fee, as I told you before. An appraiser is mandatory for you to have. If you buy a house, it's mandatory for you to have a mortgage. The bank will ask you a valuation report, and only an official appraiser can provide one. He will say, he will show the bank the real market value of the house, and that's the value that the bank will give it to you. So the costs are between 650 and 800. I dare to say 850, depends on the region that you live, and it's tax deductible. So you get around, depends on your income, you get around 38 to 41% back in your next tax. Technical inspection inspector is up to you. We always advise people to do it if the house is older than 40, 50 years old, if there is no renovation or something like that. So, but that's more or less the cost. In Eindhoven area, it costs a little bit less. If you work with us, because we have a very nice person who does it. An interpreter in the notary is also mandatory. If you don't speak Dutch, it cannot only be like a little bit, it has to be a little, really good Dutch. You need to have an interpreter in the notary, it's mandatory. The price we put it here is for an interpreter that speaks English. So if you want to have your any other language, it costs, I would say, almost double the price, so be aware of that. And bank guarantee is also mandatory, something that will come in your contract. You have to pay 10% bank guarantee. That's something that the banks arrange to you most of the time. And that, of course, there is a cost for you to do that. And if you apply, if you buy a house up to 355 and you want to have the NHG mortgage, you do have to pay one time only, 0.7% from the purchase price, to be able to have that kind of a mortgage. That's also tax deductible. So this is an overview of everything that is included on that 3, 4, or 5% that you have to pay, depends on your age and how much is the house. So, but to make the first, let's say, to think about at first what you need, please think about 4 to 5%. After that, if you don't have to pay the 2%, is great, but just for you to understand what you need for now, if you are starting the buying process, because the bank will only finance what the appraiser puts in the report. They're not going to finance the cost of buying a house. These are the experts you're going to meet during your buying process. Mortgage advisor, you already saw Ewald here, the buying agent, an appraiser, there you are, a technical inspector if it's necessary, the notary you have to be. Ewald, he talks a little bit about him and share the mortgage information. Do you want to talk about this, Ewald? Everything you can do it, or shall I do it and then you do afterwards? Whatever you like.
Advice on what we do. I think in the presentation I will go through the steps, but it might be better than.
Okay, good. Yes. So Ewald will help you prepare you. Right. The documents, everything you need for your mortgage. Submit your mortgage application, of course, once your mortgage accepted, and chase the banks and updates for confirmation. Of course, they have also an after service after everything, but he will explain to you a little bit late. The appraiser, as I told you, it's mandatory for you to have a mortgage. The bank will ask you to make a valuation report that will determine what is the real market value of the house. And also, if you buy a house, you don't have, most of the time, you don't have owner association, that the VVA, as you see here. But if you have an apartment, you do have owner association, you have the VVA, and the bank also need to know what is the condition of the VVA, how much money they have in savings if something happens in the building, if they need to, I don't know, change all the windows or repair anything. Of course, the bank needs to know about that. The appraiser is an independent party that is associated to the NWWI, and it will make the report. It will share with you within a few days. They go to the house, take pictures, and make sure that the value is correct. One thing about the appraiser, a little before that, I believe we have a slide about that. I will explain to you about when I say the appraiser will, or the bank will only finance what is in the valuation report. That's very important for you to know. Well, let me do that then with an example. I think it's easier for you. Then you can see it, actually the values. Let me go further. You can see the values, I think is easy. A building inspector, again, it's up to you, not legally required. We always tell people, as I said, it depends on how old is the house, if they did any renovation, or the state of the house, of course. Then you tell, you ask for an inspector, you put that in your offer, and he will tell you the conditions of the building. One thing that I want to make clear, an inspector won't on the dishwasher or the oven. They will literally look at the building, the conditions of the building inspector, not the other things in the house. So just for you to understand what is they will check the roof, the insulation, if there is hot water, those kind of things, how the condition of the windows, if the glasses are double glazed, and those kind of things, but not small things such as dishwasher and those kind of things, right? So just for you to understand. The report will be shared within a day or so, a day or two, and then you can see all the costs to repair if there is something wrong in the house. So that's what the building inspector does. Also the notary is the one that is going to be doing the mortgage deed and the transfer deeds. Between the mortgage deed is the deed between the bank, and the transfer deed is the agreement between you and the seller. One thing that I find very nice, that thing the notary in the Netherlands they do a kind of checkup background, I would call like this, in the house. So they will make sure that all the taxes from years before were paid, that everything is the way it's supposed to be, not from when you buy the house, since the house is there. So that's something that they will check. They're also going to check all the taxes with the city hall and make sure that you pay the correct amount. The selling people, the selling party also pay the correct amount and share everything with you. That's also included in what you pay to the notary. About your mortgage, there you are.
Yes, about the mortgage. So you already know my name. My name is Diovana. I work for Helpen Kiezen. It actually means helping you choose. And we try to take every advice step by step and make it as personal as we can. When we go to the first slide.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We're going to try to take the mortgage process step by step. The future slides will go more into detail. First, we're going to go with the inside. From the inside, that you know that if you're going to buy something and you're going to take steps, that it won't be for nothing. After that, you go to the service agreement, and after that, analyzing and the advice. After that, you take a step to the administrative process. After that, become the homeowner, and then you have the aftercare. I hear that the audio is not really that clear. Let me try to increase a little bit. So I hope it will be better then. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yes. Oh, wait a second. It is better though, the audio.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to do my best.
Thank you.
In the first step that we're going to go through is we're getting acquaintance with each other. So there are no obligations required. It can be at the office or online. The main thing that I always want to know is what is your objective? Because the objective can be different. Some people want to rent it out. They want to live here for a longer period or a shorter period. They have extra assets. They want to have a low cost a month or higher and to pay it off sooner. The idea behind it is really to understand a little bit what the wishes are. What we're going to do then, first, give a maximum loan based on the income. There's a formula behind it. So actually, it doesn't matter where you ask the ABN, ING, or whatever bank. The idea behind the formula has to be understood. So I'm going to help you with that as well. Give you a good insight in the differences within the buying cost. I heard Diovana speak about new houses. That's different than existing houses. Again, different than remodeling or renovation of a house. So it's important to understand what you're up against while you're actually looking for a new house. We're going to give you more insight into the monthly cost of the mortgage. So you also know what to expect if you say yes to a certain house. Insight in the different loans. There are 3 types of loans. So we're going to explain the good things about it, the bad things about it, so you can make a personal decision. And of course, insight in the rules and the regulations. So this is all going to be in the first, just getting to know each other, whether you want to buy a house or not a house, and that you don't take a wrong step within that one. When we go to the next slide. Oh, one step back. Perfect. What is your budget for a house? The budget is determined by a few things. First of all, the income and cost. And what I mean with cost is actually if you have credits, because the way we're going to look at it, you cannot borrow at one side and then use it for another part. So the idea about the cost also would be, if you know what your income is, we can explain exactly what your budget is in that side. On the other side, you have your own savings. You can use your own savings as well. Using your own savings adds to what you can buy, but it doesn't add to what you can borrow. So we really have to take into account the combination of those. And last but not least is the appraisal value of the house. This is a reason why we already always advise people to use a broker to buy something. Because nowadays people are overbidding on the house as well. And the appraisal eventually is determining whether you can get it or not. Whether you can borrow $1 million or not, it doesn't matter if the value of the house is less, you cannot get more than that. This also has an influence on the renovation of the house. So when we go to the next slide, I try to explain it a little bit how that part works. Because if you buy a house before renovation with a value of 400,000 euros, and the renovation cost would be about 50,000 euros, the appraisal might be saying that after renovation, the value is 435,000 euros. That means that the maximum loan based on the value of the house is 435,000. So then the income is not relevant anymore. The appraisal is relevant. And therefore, the buying broker is actually essential in the current market. Because if people don't have enough savings, it could actually mean that you cannot buy the house, or you don't want to buy the house because you cannot perform the renovation that you wished. We always are in close contact also in that part. So we try really to be the middleman on this. So there will be no surprises afterwards. And definitely before, Diovana would help you with a good appraisal value of the house. So you know that the value will not be a surprise afterwards. When we go to the next slide, there's also a loan to value. When you go to the loan to value, there's a risk-based when you go to the interest. The interests are a little bit higher though. Unfortunately, it really increased lately. But what happens, the longer you fix an interest, the higher the interest will become. Another part that is important for you to be aware of as well, NHG is one of the facts that also was mentioned by Diovana. If NHG is standing guarantee for a loan, so you're able to buy a house below 355, then actually there's little risk involved for a bank. If you borrow up to 65% of the value of a house, there's less risk involved than people buying a house above 100% of the value of a house, or at least getting a mortgage. So therefore, the bank actually adjusts the interest connected to how much you want to borrow, connected to the value of the house. These are all things that we're going to talk through also in the first meeting, really to set it to your specific ideas behind getting a mortgage and your possibilities within, of course. So normally I also assist a little bit when you're in the bidding process. When we go to the next slide, finding a house, first of all, you use Funda for finding the house, and getting the buying agreement actually is part that still is being done by the broker. This is also a part in the process that I also assist as a middleman a little bit. First of all, make sure that you can buy the house. We also make sure that the connections within the buying contract are also assessed by me. So therefore, we keep into account what dates are important for you and you don't miss anything. When you seal the buying contract, then eventually you will not get the house before you really go to the notary. And in these steps, we're going to take a few advice steps. So this is going to be the next part from my advice. When we go to the next slide. First of all, we go more into depth, because whether you buy a house of 300,000 or 500,000, there's a big difference. So what we start doing is really create your wishes. What is your perception of affordability? What is your personal situation? Whether you have children or not is a different options within the rules. So we go beyond the first bank. We look at all of those banks eventually, but first create what do you want? After that, we're going to check the facts and possibilities within. So we tailor the wishes towards your possibilities. And based on that, we're going to create the best choice on price and quality. Of course, it will be having the same interest as your bank can offer. This is determined by law. So it's not that if you go directly to a bank, you'll have a different interest than with us. No, the only difference is that we don't go from the product ID, but we go from the wish ID, and then we choose the product. You make everything concrete in the last part, so the administrative process will also be done by us and supported by us. We try to oversee all process and deadlines, so we make sure that nothing goes wrong within, and of course, the check with the notary. So I'm a little bit the middleman, helping you in all ways possible. On the next slide, you can also see a little bit how comparison works. So what we're going to do, we're going to compare the few banks, as many as you want actually, because all banks are part of the system, in which you're not only going to look at the first interest, but also the interest on the range of a mortgage that is running for 30 years. So sometimes you get a discount after you paid off part of the mortgage. It's important to be aware of that part as well. So it's not only the interest you see in the first month. Also, how much you can pay off, maybe if you want to rent it out, if you're capable of within the law. How long is the offer validation, that sort of things. So we're really going to go beyond only the first interest that you see and to make sure that you know what you're choosing. And that's my intention, to help you make the correct choices. In the next slide, you see a little bit how we base the cost. New mortgages generally is 2,700 euros. So when you see the cost of the bank, this is included in that way. So basically arranging it and giving the advice is always a combination of the two. There normally is not definitely an explain file. Being an expat doesn't mean you're an explain file or that sort of things. Only entrepreneurs, they cost a little bit more. But generally people get their mortgage for 2,700 euros. That's including VAT and it's the total cost. Additional life insurance are always with a one-time fee. If it's needed, the same with disability or that sort of things, there's a one-time fee of 300 euros. But if it's for two people, then a maximum of 450. Those are the fixed prices. In the next step, when we do everything, the idea is that I'm a little bit the spill or the middleman in all sides. So I will help you also with the context. Once the broker seals the deal, make sure that everything is correct. We sign the contract. And if everything is administratively correct and help you on all sides, then it's finalized. And yeah, we congratulate you. And of course, we also have the aftercare, what Diovana mentioned. If there's anything in the future, we are always welcoming people to ask those questions and help them. So our idea is really to get mouth-to-mouth commercial and people keep coming to us. So we try to take that really good and not to calculate anything in cost in that way, but people, helping people. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, keep your questions. Ewald will stay with us until the end so he can answer your questions at the end. I'm sure you have plenty of them. And I actually have some myself that maybe people forgot. So then we can talk about them at the end, Ewald. Wait, I always have to click it. Let's see. 3 tips to win in the current market. Value, it's very, very important. And that's something I want to explain to you. That it's very clear. Remember when I talked to you about the valuation report, and that's what the bank needs for the mortgage that Ewald just showed you. That's something that we can understand now. So we took this house as an example, 395 as an asking price, and here you can see what it was we were talking about it. So 395 was the asking price. The market value from this house given by an appraisal is 415. So you see the difference already, around 20k from the asking price. That's what you see on Funda, but the actual market value is around 415. And let's say you gave an offer that is much higher than that, and that's 435. So when we were talking about that the bank will only finance what the appraiser put in the report, the valuation report. So you have to understand that you can only finance, in this case, 415. If you paid 435, it means that you have to pay the difference with your savings in cash. That's besides all those to 5% to pay the buying process, remember? So that's what the market value means. The bank will finance the 415, the appraiser put in the valuation report, and that's the official value of the house. Asking price, normally in our region is much lower than what the market value is, as you can see, and they do that to attract more people to the viewings, of course. So that's why it's very important that you do your price research, that you can actually have an idea what the market value is. And I know a lot of people will ask me how much more they have to think regarding the market value. How do they know? Unfortunately, you do have to do a price research to be able to know the market value. Some houses will be 5,000 more, some houses will be 25,000 more. There's no way to know if you don't do a price research. That's what we do to be able to get the market, to correct market value, and to be able to make the best offer. And even though in this case it was paid more, right, 435. So now you can see difference from the asking price for 40K, which that's what everybody always says. You have to pay 10 to 20% above the asking price. That's not completely wrong, but you don't have to think about asking price. You have to think about the market value, because that's exactly what you're going to be able to finance. That's what the bank wants to know. The bank doesn't want to know how much was the asking price on Funda. So difference from the purchase price, 20K. So actually the difference, the market value is 4.8%. So that's the big, when people say that the market value, that you have to pay that much or that much, here you can see what it means, what the big difference means. Let's give you another example. Asking price 375, market value 415, purchase price 435. So here it's even higher. But your value versus purchase price, it is basically the same, because the market value was much higher in this case. So that's what you have to pay attention. And what I see from last year, or from the beginning of, even I dare to say before the war starts, I see that a lot of people are being more careful regarding the market value and the purchase price, because before that, I dare to say that a lot of people would just go and throw everything they have. And now people are a bit more careful regarding this big difference of paying the difference in cash to be able to get a house. Again, in this case, the house is 375, that was on Funda, and then the market value is actually 415. That's a lot. That's 60K. That's a lot of difference. And it does happen, and it does happen quite often as well. So in this case, people paid 435. So they didn't pay, they only paid 20K above the market value. Do you see the difference? So you didn't pay 10 or 20% above the market. You pay only 4.8%. And that's very important for people to understand. But again, I like to come back to this because I see that very often. I'm not sure if you do see that happens, Ewout, but I see that very often, that people believe they can finance everything, even the higher, extremely higher offers. And that's why I want to go back to this and tell you, you can only finance the value that the if you have the budget, of course, that the value that the appraiser put on the report. If you pay 50K more than that, if you pay 100, it won't happen, people. It's only the market value, nothing else. The bank will not give you anything else. So of course, if you do a renovation, that's something different. That's what Ewout said it before, that if it adds value to the house and the appraiser put that on the report, that's something different. But if you just buy a house and you're not doing a renovation, the bank will finance the market value, and that's it. What does a winning offer? How can you get your offer to be the one, right? Offer a good price. That's and it is not always the high price, and that's exactly because what I say. A lot of people go and offer what we see, 10% above the asking price, but they don't have any idea about the market value. So in that house, 375, and let's say you guys offer, let's go back to here so I can show you better. You offer 435 as a purchase price, but in your offer it says that you want to finance 100% of the purchase price. The people who are selling the house, they already know that's not possible, that you're not going to ever be able to finance 435, that you can only be able to finance the 415. So although you had a higher offer, you're not going to be able to buy the house because you put the wrong conditions. And that's the difference when you have a buying agent, for example. And that's the difference in know and do your price research and know the market value. offer security to the seller. Of course, it's always nice for the seller to know that what kind of job you have, what kind of contract. So that's very important. Offer the least amount of hassle, offer a personal touch. I always tell my clients to tell a story, to tell why they're buying the house, where do they work, that they already have spoke to a mortgage advisor, that everything is ready to go. So that makes a huge difference when you receive an offer for someone that has this huge amount of money, but you have no idea about the background and if that's going to be possible. Again, I will give you my experience. I did do that for myself. I sold my first house and I didn't choose the highest price because I had no idea where those people, where the money would come from. How would they even be able to pay that? So we decided to choose another offer because I knew the buying agent. Of course, I'm in the market. I know the person. It's make it easy for me. I'm not going to deny that. But I knew the buying agent. I knew he would not work with someone that wouldn't be able to pay for it. So that's how we closed the deal. And that happens a lot. So that's why I offer that when you can check the market value, when you can do your price research correct, the chances are higher that you get an offer accepted. Do the diligence, we talked about it, technical inspector, appraiser, those people that you're going to meet when you have an offer accepted. And here is something very interesting. Do you book them before or after your offer is accepted? I do like to have them. The technical inspection is always before, they come always after your offer get accepted, but they do come here before you sign your purchase contract. The technical inspector always come before, because of course you need to know if there's something wrong in the house, and then you can not sign your deal, you pull it out. And the appraiser, you always have those 3 cooling off periods after you sign the purchase agreement that you could bring him at the house. But if you don't have any information about the market value, that might be a bit dangerous. I would recommend, very much recommend that you bring him as fast as you can after the offer gets accepted, because if something goes wrong, you didn't sign anything, you can pull out and you don't have to pay the 10% penalty to the sellers. After the 3 days, you do have to pay if something goes wrong. So just be aware of that. So it's very important that you bring them before you sign the purchase agreement, but you can only bring them after your offer gets accepted. We make here a little timelines for you to understand the market, the buying process. Start your search, of course. You probably all have been looking at Funda or any other websites from the agents to see if the houses are popping up over there, and make the appointments. Submit an offer. When it gets approved, make the appointment for the appraisal technical inspection, and then sign the purchase agreement. That's from the offer gets accepted until you sign the purchase agreement. It's about 1.5 weeks, max 2 weeks. They won't like very much, so do as quick as possible. And then after you sign it, after those 3-day cooling off period, you can start your mortgage process. The contract is sent to your mortgage advisor, to the notary, to the sellers, to you, of course, and it's when your mortgage advisor will start the process. Normally, after you sign the contract, you do have 3 days where you can completely pull out of the offer without paying any penalty. It has to be 3 working days. It cannot be a holiday or a weekend. So here's a tip: always sign your contract on a Wednesday. Then you have Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Saturday and Sunday, and you can pull out and your last day is Monday. You can still have 5 days to think about it. Maybe you were not that in love and it was just like this offer, crazy offer after so many you sent that got accepted. Have happened before with clients that I have. So just be sure when you send your offer. And you have an average of 4 weeks to get your mortgage approved. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's a little bit more, depend on all your paperwork, all your financial part, but that's something the mortgage advisor will take care for you and will keep you in the loop all the time, I'm sure. When your mortgage application is approved, you just have to wait until you get and to go to the notary. Between that time is the statement of completion, is when you get the final invoice, the final note from the notary, all the payments you have to do. Remember those 5%, 4%? That's the time the notary will send you that list of things: the notary costs, appraisal costs, the mortgage advisor itself, the bank, the NHG if you have it, the buying agent, me, for example. All those costs will be there in that final note, and you have to pay before you get your keys, of course. And then before you go to the notary, let's say you have an appointment on the 1st of May at 11 o'clock in the morning to sign your transfer deed and your mortgage deed. Before that, an hour and a half or an hour before, you go to the house and you do a last inspection with the sellers and the agent of the seller, your agent if you have one. Just the house has to be in the same condition as you saw it, as when you signed the purchase agreement. The seller is not allowed to do anything in the house unless something breaks, and he has to fix it, of course. But he cannot just, for example, break a wall because he doesn't like it anymore after he sold the house to you. It has to be the same condition. And you're also going to take the meter readers, the water, gas, electricity, because from that day on, it'll be in your name. And also, you know, if you bought something, sometimes you can buy a wardrobe or the whole furniture or something like that. So things have to be in a good condition, right? In the condition you saw it. So they have to be there, and those kind of things you check. A lot of owners, they do prepare like a box with all the menus from the house, or if there's any guarantee, it will pass to you, those kind of things. So that's what we do in the last inspection. And if you get a nice buying agent, you get a champagne, of course. So just so you know. Let's go further. And then you go to the notary, you sign everything. And after you sign everything, you do have, we call liability months, around 2 months after you signed the purchase agreement, the transfer deed and the mortgage deed, that you use the house and you see how everything goes. We put here around 2 months, but I want to be very specific. This is a very gray zone. There is no law about this. It's more common sense, right? So you need to understand when you buy a new build, when you buy a completely old house, or when you buy a house that is not so old and you did a technical inspection, everything is good. So you have to be, my advice to you is get into the house, get your keys, try everything, all the radiators, dishwasher, everything you can try, lights on, everything, see if everything's work. If not, if something's wrong, of course, you again, it's everybody has to be reasonable. If a lamp it's not working and it's a matter of changing the lamp, the seller doesn't have to change the lamp for you. So those kind of things again, you're not buying a new building, you have to understand that. So that's why it's a gray zone. And also you have very nice sellers that you're going to call and ask for something in the house, and they will be very nice and talk to you and let you know. And you have people that don't care anymore because you got your keys. And actually in the purchase agreement, it will come an article that will say that the house is your responsibility after you sign the mortgage and deed and the transfer deed. And that's why you have insurance. But we do put the 2 months liability because that's enough time for people to try out everything if everything is correct the way it's supposed to be. Let's go further. So those are the package that we have in our company. If you'd like to work with us, I can give an explanation of all of them. I don't have it, just get in touch. I'm not doing that right now. We are here to explain to you about the buying process, but here are the package, and you can have an idea of what we can offer you. And now we put together some questions that you probably already have or will have. What happens if you want to leave the country after several years? I will definitely let that question for you about.
Okay, what happens if you leave the country after several years?
Yes.
Well, basically, you can just sell your house, and if you sell the house, the benefits from the house after you paid off the mortgage, what is left, is yours. It's not taxed or anything. So a lot of people take a nice sum to the next adventure, let's say.
There you go. There you go. Go for the next one. Can I rent out my house or a room? Can we do like half-half, or do you want to take that one? It's up to you.
Well, a lot of people are actually asking this. We are becoming more flexible, so maybe in the future there are more actually banks that do allow it to change the mortgage to renting it out. For now, it's still different type of mortgages, so there are possibilities renting out houses. Renting out a room, there are also within certain limits possibilities if you just have one room of the house that you're renting out. But in general, you cannot just rent out your house with a private mortgage. The mortgage is meant for your own house, not for a rented out house. So that's different type of mortgages. There are possibilities for this, but they're a little bit limited, and they are more expensive because it's more business-like. So you have to think of interest rates that might be 2% higher than the common rates you get for your own private house.
Not allowed to extend some mortgage, or That was the answer already, but you already told us. I didn't click it. So what's the typical amount I should overbid? So again, there is no typical amount you should overbid. It depends. It really depends on the house, on the market value, the neighborhood. It depends on a lot of things. It depends in city by city. I do see in Eindhoven a kind of a pattern sometimes that it go above 20, 25K sometimes, but it depends on the neighborhood. There are neighborhoods that are way more neighborhoods you don't need so much, and neighborhoods you don't have to overbid at all because some selling agents already put the price at the appraisal price. About what you have to overbid because of other people, that's also something completely different. I have to be honest, some people will go crazy and overbid whatever they want to do just because they want a house so badly. So that's difficult part. So that's why you need to know first the market value, and then we know what we have to overbid. Again, here we go. Value, it's all about value, purchase price. So that's the difference again. In this case, we have another example, 400, market value 430, and the purchase price ended up to be 460. So those people overbid 30K. So I'm not saying it's necessary, but there are neighborhoods that it will be necessary if you want to compete, if you want to have the winning offer. And once more, I will repeat it. If you pay above the market value, you have to pay with your own cash, with your own savings. But don't forget, you need to pay still those 4 to 5% as the buying process. That's more. You have to add that money. Also have that in savings to be able to buy. Another example, we have many examples today, so you can understand. This is a very typical one, 380 and market value 430. Sometimes it really surprises me how high. And again, they do put the value low, quite low, so they get more viewings, more competitions, more offer. And if the person is desperate, more crazy offers. So that's what that happens. And to be honest, I see even from my colleagues that live in that work in Amsterdam area, it's even worse. It's the market value can be like 100, 150K more than the asking price. So just for you to have an idea. How does the NHD limit work? Does it apply on the purchase price or the WOZ value? That's all you, Ewout.
Well, actually, it depends on the appraisal value. So the purchase price can even be above the limit of 355,000 euros. But if the appraisal is 355 or less, then you can actually get NHD as well. Be aware that if you're modifying it as well, then it has to be added to the buying price. So if you say, I need a kitchen put in, you cannot add it above the 355. Be aware of that as well. So actually, WOZ value doesn't mean anything. It's just how much taxes you're going to be paying. We don't really look at that part.
Yes, this is very true, because I see a lot of people coming and tell me that how come that the price of the house is so high and the WOZ is so low. So again, as Ewout said, the WOZ has nothing to do with the market value, with the market at all, with selling a house. It's literally the purpose of for you to pay taxes. That's it. It's your taxes. It's your sewage taxes and all the taxes that are in the house, the house taxes that the government will make you pay every year. So you don't have to worry about the WOZ value unless you want to only about the self-occupancy that started now in April. Then you have to think about it. Otherwise, you're fine. What is a 10% deposit I need to complete? So it is a deposit in case something happens with a deal. That's the penalty that you have to pay. For example, if you buy the house without financial clause and then your mortgage get denied, then you have to pay 10% of the purchase price to the seller. If your mortgage is approved, you have a financial clause, but then you just don't like the house anymore. It's not that pretty like you thought it was pretty. You just decided not to buy the house. You will have to pay 10% deposit, 10% bank guarantee. That's the guarantee for the seller. That if something goes wrong within the deal, that's not mentioned on your clause, you do have to pay to the seller. Anything else to add to deposit, Ewout, that you like to add?
No, that's complete. It's the bank guarantee that is done. Whether you do it with your own cash or the bank, both is possible. No.
Yes, and it's mandatory, right? They will come in all the contracts. Most time, sometimes you will see on the Funda link as well from the house. You can see it already. They will put it that what will be the conditions, but it is mandatory. It will come in all the contracts. There's no need, no way you can, even if you buy the house and pay everything in cash, they will charge you still the 10% deposit. So just so you know. The down payment of the, oh, there you go again, the explanation that I said it before. Down payment for the purchase price, agreed in the purchase contract, paying guarantee of deposits in the account of the notary. Oh yes, that's very important. The money will be sent to the notary account and it will stay there until you get the keys of the house. And after that, it will go back or to you or the bank. It depends how you did the process. That's something that the mortgage advisor will advise you and how to do it, and we will do it for you as well. Q&A, here we go. Rick, do we still have questions?
Hello, everyone. No, actually, we don't. I think your story was super clear because we only had 2 questions.
Oh, good.
So, guys, please feel free to put them in the chat so we can cover them.
Yeah, I see some stuff in the chat, but I'm not sure if you already answered them.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. As I didn't click it, so otherwise it would go wrong. I had a question for you, Ewout, but I have to remember which question it was. Oh yeah, I have a question about the interest rates. What is your opinion?
Well, right now, actually, the interest rates are really increasing. We're actually talking about maybe even 0.2% each week. So if you look at it 2 months ago, you were actually talking about 1% less than it is now. What will happen? I don't know. To be honest, actually, I think the war did influence a little bit the interest, so maybe it will decrease. But so far, the only things that we are seeing that is really increasing and keeping increasing. So we're really making overtime just to make sure that the offer, the moment the house is bought, is being requested as well, so we can fix the rate and it won't increase after we fixed it.
Yeah.
But I believe it will increase for the coming time.
Okay. So that was my main question about the interest rates. It went quite sky high from one day to another, right? So can we blame the war?
Yeah, I think then it started. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yes. Okay, is there any more questions?
We do have a question now.
Oh, there you go.
From Eslam. How much money can I get for renovations and what qualify as a renovation?
Do you want to answer, or can I want to say something that what qualified as a renovation. That's something I want to point it out because I do have that question quite often. Painting a house, painting the walls is not renovation, not for the bank. So you do have to have major things. For example, the whole bathroom, a new kitchen, floor heating, a new roof. The solar panel counts as renovation. It's increasing. It was increase the value, so it is a renovation, right? So that's something that you have to understand, but not painting the walls or changing little things. That's not a renovation at the bank. If it doesn't add value to the house, market value to the house, it's not considered a renovation. So you have to, painting a wall, although the house will look prettier, it's not going to make the house cost 5,000 more. So that's what you have to understand. The rest of the question, I will let Ewout to answer about how much. There you go, Ewout. That's yours.
Yes. Well, actually, there's not really a limit to it. Some banks do require certain limits, but generally there's none. So everything you can use or really use for the appraisal report as well has to be a fixed part of the house. And as long as it becomes a fixed part of the house, you can use it. So when it's a light bulb, it's not possible because you can detach it without destroying part of the house, sort of say. Yeah. Even the garden you can use, but you cannot, like the tree that you plant is possible, but if you put it in a jar, in a pot, it's not possible. So that's a little bit the way it works. So there's not really a limit to it. And in case you don't want to have it connected with the bank, so you just want to do it, that's fine as well. That was one of the questions I saw. Yeah, only when it does add value. In some cases, it's really worthwhile to use it as well when you do the appraisal and therefore also the mortgage. because the higher the value of the house, the better your interest could become.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I want to ask you something. Sorry, Rick, do you have any more questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, sorry. Then I ask
An
later.
example, if you buy a house for your daughter, which is at university, can you still make use of the 2% tax benefit, even if you rent it out to 2 rooms to other students?
Maybe I should also answer that one.
Go for it.
Well, actually, buying a house for your daughter is still seen as an investment. So actually, you're paying 8% taxes on this part. There's also within Eindhoven actually the restriction of renting it out if you have a WOZ value of 350 that was mentioned before. There is, however, a rule that you can rent it out to your kid. So that's actually a rule that is possible if you want to buy a house. But getting a mortgage on it is really impossible, basically, for that type of ID. And then sometimes it's better that the ownership actually is going to your daughter. So that type of things we can discuss. But it's a tricky part. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Yeah, definitely. Rick?
All right. And then I think still some questions about renovations. First, do you need to inform bank about what you're actually going to do?
Yes, you do. Also, because if you're going to add that renovation in the evaluation report, if you want the bank to give you that money, you need to inform your evaluator, your appraisal, how much you're going to expend. For example, if you want to put a new kitchen, how much would the kitchen cost? You need to get a quote. The evaluator will put in the report, and then the bank will give you I would say a percent, not the full value as you saw it like about putting in a slide, but the bank will tell you how much they will give you for that specific, for the renovation. But you do have to give them a price. Yeah, you have to fill it up a document actually with price and with the values. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe in some cases to add as well, because when you buy a house of 355 for the NHG, then you don't want this in the appraisal report. And in some cases, you can also get a second loan, maybe like a few months afterwards. So you have the biggest part on the NHG and only the additional part without. So there are actually tricks to think of as well. So therefore, it's really important to really look into every specific case, what the possibilities are, and maybe this house isn't applicable, but the other one is. So yeah, some tricks can be used.
I think we have another question for Aaron. How does a study loan from the Netherlands affect your mortgage capacity?
Yeah, it's definitely. By the way, the loop I might hear when your sound is on, Diovana. I think I hear the loop and Rick's. The student loan, basically, depending a little bit on what, because if you borrow it with a bank, it really affects it only almost 4 to 5 times. But the moment it's a student loan from the government, it affects it about 2 times, and it's from the original loan. So if it is 10,000 euros, that does mean that you can borrow up to 20,000 less, even if you only have 1,000 left, because they're looking what it costs each month. So therefore, a student loan does affect it. It's not seen, so sometimes they say it doesn't count, but it does count, and we're getting more and more opportunities or possibilities, the banks, to check it. So be aware that it does influence it. Yes.
One thing that I remember as well about the what can affect your mortgage are also car lease, right? When you have leasing, that affects like drastically your mortgage, isn't it? Can you tell more or less a percentage? I had a client in the past that he had I think his budget went like almost 100K less because he had a leasing car. Is that correct? Just to let people understand about it, because I see a lot of expats do have a leasing car, and that can affect your budget quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely. That's even more strict nowadays. So it's becoming huge because basically what they're saying, if you're paying about 500 euros a month for 3 years, then actually your credit is 500 times 12 times 3 years. So that means there's a credit that is really impressive, and that times 4 or 5 is basically the limit. So when I calculated it this way, let's say 500 euros, times 12 times 3 years, it's 18,000. So that actually could limit your mortgage possibilities with 72,000 euros. So it's huge. If you get a lease or a car from your job or your company, it doesn't influence it at all. So that's a different thing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Rick, any more questions?
Yeah, so what about the credit card? I think you already explained. Is it treated like a loan? Even if you sell the bills?
Yeah. Depends if you have a spread payment. If you have a spread payment, it's always considered a loan, whether you use it or not. But if you have one that is actually diverting everything that you use that month automatically, then it doesn't count.
There we go, I guess.
So far, that's it from my side.
Okay, I do have one last question, Ewout, about the sustainability. When people buy a house and they want to put solar panels and a new boiler to make, the house as sustainable, more greener and environment, make the whole environment better. And is that, I want to explain a little bit because I know that doesn't count in the budget. That's a different kind of a mortgage that people can get for that. That is not included in the renovation budget, for example. But yeah, just if you can give an explanation about the solar panel thing and making the whole environment mortgage and how does that work?
Yeah, when you do the renovation for energy saving measures, you can actually borrow with most banks 9,000 above the budget, even above the value of the house, because we can go up to 106% with some banks with it. The trick normally is what a lot of people are, what I'm always afraid of, that people are buying on the 9,000. That's not possible. It's really meant, like Diovana said, for improving it. So that means the solar panels and that sort of things. If you have the 9,000 and you're not using the full amount, you cannot use it for a different purpose like a kitchen or that sort of things. But the idea also is that you create a better energy label, and in some cases you actually get discounts with some banks by getting a better label, and some banks also give you a better interest on that part of the loan. So there are definitely possibilities within.
So does that count also for insulation, for example, to make the insulation better and everything that improves the energy label, right?
Yes, there's a list for that, but basically all that sort of things are possible. Yeah, double glass, double windows as well, yes. That sort of things. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Rick, I guess I only had that question though.
We do have another question, a final question.
Okay.
About the market value and asking price. How is that with new build properties?
Oh, that's a good thing. New build properties don't have that. The price you see it, it's the price you're going to pay for it. Of course, when you go to when you subscribe on the website, they will give you the full amount to you, and most likely everything will be included. But if you, for example, if there is a bathroom included, and it is going to be a simple bathroom, if you want to have a better bathroom, that's not included on that price. It can be included, and they will tell the options, but then the price can increase, of course. But you don't have to overbid. You don't have to the offer. You don't have even to send the offer. You're going to subscribe from the websites from the companies who are selling it, and then there is also a kind of waiting list for those things. It might be, most of them do have it. But if they call you, then most likely, if everything is okay with your financial, the apartment will be yours, and for that specific price, unless you want to add much more things that are not included in their package, for example, but they will let you know everything that is included. So yes, you don't have to overbid. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe to add on this, so the market value is the same like the building value.
Oh, yes.
So that's actually nice to know. So you really can get a full mortgage only start paying when they start building. So be aware that you normally have double cost, and it can go up to 1 year or 2 years. Part can be also included in the mortgage, but be aware of it that part of it has to be paid as well. But the market value will be the same as the cost. So that's actually a good thing.
And,
Yeah,
and
oh
when,
yeah.
when Ewout says, oh, sorry.
No, there's also, you always have to, when you do the when you want to be part of it, you need a financial statement, and
Yeah.
these are the things that that I provide. So with this financial statement, you can actually make the bidding, and then you're part on the part that actually does make a running for it. Because people without a financial statement are just left behind; they will never get a new house.
And just for you to understand, when he says double payments, it's because you pay a percentage every month from what they are building, so that you're not going to pay like if you buy a new house only when you get your keys. If it takes them 5 years to build, every month they build something, you pay a difference, a bit more until you get the keys, just for you to understand. So you have to pay your rent if you're renting, plus the monthly payments for the new property, and it will go up as they will build. For example, they're going to buy the land, and then they will make the foundation, and then you pay in a percentage, and then they go, if next month they do something else, you pay a little bit more above that. So just for you guys to understand. Rick, we're back to you.
That's it from my side.
Okay, so thank you so much. Ewout, thank you so much. It was nice to having you again. And,
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And everybody, for you guys to know, there is going to be a link here in the presentation. My link, Ewout's link. You can all book an appointment with us if you like. You can, if you have more questions and you forgot to ask, feel free to send us an email. I'm sure it's okay with you as well, right, Ewout, for them to send an email if you have questions. And yeah, if you need anything, again, you will receive everything. You receive the presentation and also receive the recording. So yeah, I hope to meet you all soon. Thank you, Rick, for being here, for helping out with the questions.
Yes,
And
thank you for the presentation.
thank you, appreciate it. And have a nice evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.